my only goal here is just to make sure that everybody is excited about the work that they're continuing to do to help Hoosiers, and to make sure that we spread the word far and wide across the district and across the state, so that more and more people know about the resources to ensure that, number one, they pay as little as possible for the preparation of their return, and number two, they pay not a penny more than they owe in taxes, not a penny less, not a penny more. That's what the federal government requires. So anything that comes up I can do to ever help any of you, don't hesitate a second to reach out anytime. But like I said, the speakers after me are the real brains of the operation. I just provide the gusto to the operation.
Great. Well, I can take it over from there, David. Congressman, Representative Hollingsworth, thank you so much for doing this. We were together about 2 years ago, this time at the library in person for an event, and we appreciate your attending that and being back here again today. But thanks for providing the gusto. I also am not providing the gusto, and also I want to just tee up a couple of things, but then turn it over to Nancy and Kate from the Department of Revenue and the IRS, who are really providing these services to your constituents and taxpayers around the state. So I will do that, but thank you so much for being here, sir. My name is Dave Macklin. I'm with the Intuit Financial Freedom Foundation, which is a chief sponsor of the Tax Time Allies campaign. Now, you might wonder, what is a Tax Time Allies campaign? It's a growing movement of national, state, and local nonprofits, government agencies like the Department of Revenue and the IRS, and companies like Intuit that are committed to taxpayer empowerment, and individual volunteers from across the country who are united in one goal, and that's to make sure eligible taxpayers can take advantage of the IRS and Indiana sponsored free tax preparation resources available to them. That includes VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, tax counseling for the elderly, which is through AARP Tax Aid, and of course Free File, which is the online self-prep program. Intuit is one of 9 companies at the federal level, and I think 5 companies at the state level that donate their software through the IRS and Indiana Free File programs. And we are also a funder and huge supporter of the network of local VITA agencies around the country. And while taxes might not be anyone's favorite topic, it is core to everyone's financial lives. And doing that for free and with confidence can be a life changer. So really, I just want to highlight 3 messages today before turning it over to Nancy and Kate. And those are, and I think you said it, Representative, file your taxes. Now, many people don't have to have a filing obligation, but because of what Congress has done and the administration, they're using tax returns to quickly distribute stimulus benefits. And all signs point to them continuing to do so. So it is critical to make sure everyone starts with that first step. The second is the new IRS look-back rule. I'm not an expert on that, and I'll turn it over to others who may be able to talk more about it. But this year, Congress did pass the look-back rule, which means that families that can use either their 2019 or 2020 income to calculate their earned income tax credit or additional child tax credit, whichever gets them the biggest refund. So that's big, and I think it's something that Congress. I was on a Zoom earlier, and the word was used that it was an elegant solution to the situation, and it really is a simple way. But make sure you do have your 2019 tax return as well, so that you can decide whichever gets you the biggest refund. That's what we want you to do. And there's a website called taxtimecrisis.org, which provides more information on the look-back rule. We can get that to you. And finally, all eligible taxpayers need to know about the programs and how to find IRS and Indiana tax assistance programs. And that's why we're here today. So April 15th is a little over a month away. And given VITA's commitment to keeping people safe by providing limited in-person services, and I know we talked about that with David at the library, we want to urge those who need the most hands-on help to look into these services now, make appointments, because I know they are booking up, as David was saying. But for everyone else, we want to encourage them to file online if they can, and do it for free. So there's a few resources the IRS has, and I'm sure Kay will talk about it, the IRS To Go app, going through the Indiana Free File site through the Department of Revenue. And we have a website called taxtimeallies.org that has tips on obtaining tax credits and how-to videos and so on. So that's just kind of gives you an overview of the things that we'll be talking about today. Happy to answer any questions or ask Nancy and Kate to answer those questions as we get going. But thank you again for inviting me to be part of this, David, and the library. We appreciate you inviting us a couple of years ago. And Representative Hollingsworth, thanks so much for your support. And with that, I'll turn it over. I think it's over to Nancy. Thank you, everybody, for dialing in, too. I hope we can provide all the information you need.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, hi, everybody. Please feel free at any point in time to type questions in the chat box. I think we're going to, at the end of each presentation, like David said, open up to any questions that we see in there. So that being said, I have a presentation, so I will go ahead and share my screen. All right. Okay, so yes, as said, hello, I am Nancy Tyree. I am the Business Outreach and Education Manager with the Indiana Department of Revenue. And I'm going to be focusing on the Indiana Free File program because we want to encourage you to use that if possible while filing your taxes this year. So Indiana Free File, if you are not already familiar with it, it allows taxpayers who have an adjusted gross income, also called an AGI, to file their federal and state taxes online for free, assuming that that AGI is below a certain threshold. And that changes from year to year. We'll talk about what it is this year a little more later in the presentation. But that software is supposed to be easy to use, uses a simple question and answer format, and it is supposed to be user-friendly. So that is why we encourage you to use the Indiana Free File to file your taxes if you are eligible to do so. If you want to start your journey in filing your taxes this year, we recommend that you start at the website that I have on this slide. And I would recommend you write this down. If you don't do it right now, don't worry. I've included it on a couple of other slides in this presentation. It is freefile.dor.in.gov. So before we get into that, just a little bit of background, and Kate might talk about this more as well. The Free File program, it's actually a national program. It's not just something that Indiana does. It's developed back in 2003, I think, and it was the IRS and a bunch of tax preparation software vendors came together, as David said, to enable taxpayers to pay their taxes online for free. Indiana Free File is our state's area of the program. So it consists of various vendors who offer free online filing services to Indiana filers. And there are every year around 2 million Hoosiers who qualify for that service. It varies a little depending on what the threshold of AGI is, but that means that a lot of you are likely eligible for this. And we want to make sure that you know how it works if you are. So, like I said, if you want to get started and learn more, this is the website that we would recommend you check out in order to get started, freefile.dor.in.gov. You can just type that in the browser of your choice and it will redirect you to that page on our website. When it redirects you, you'll see the full URL is a little longer. This is just the shorter version of it, but don't worry, it is the right page. When you get to that page, you are going to see a lot of things. There will be information about what Indiana Free File is. You scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll find frequently asked questions, which can be pretty helpful if you have any questions. And around the middle of the page, you will also see a list of this year's eligible vendors. You will also see all of the criteria that each of them have, because each of them have slightly different requirements in order to qualify to file for free through those programs. You will also on that page next to each vendor see a link that will direct you to that vendor's website. those links are invaluable because we've found in the past that sometimes people will just Google the vendor that they want to use and free file. And when they click on the first result in Google, sometimes that's an ad. So it takes them to the paid version of filing with that vendor. And we don't want you to pay if you don't have to. So using our website and clicking on those links that we provide there guarantees that you will go to the free file section of each of those websites so that you can get started in the right place. And assuming that you qualify, not have to pay to file your taxes. So that's a little tip. Additionally, once you select the vendor, you click on that link, you will start entering in your information. It shouldn't ask for anything that you don't need to. It's going to, through a series of questions, figure out what type of return you're filing and only ask for information that pertains to that kind of return. Also, all of that software, regardless of what vendor you choose, is going to check for completeness and make sure that you don't have any errors, such as math errors. So that's really helpful. You will start with your federal return, and then that software will guide you towards completing your Indiana tax return. And you can submit both of them at once when you are done, which is really convenient. One small note I also wanted to mention, we've encountered a couple of customers who in past years, they use the same vendor multiple years in a row, which is great if you're able to do that. A lot of people like doing that. And they use the link on our website to go to the right section of that website. But because they've used that vendor multiple years in a row, when they get there, they go and log into their account. And somehow in the course of doing that, it navigates them away from the free file section. And it's kind of like if you just clicked on a link from Google, it takes you away from that and you're no longer on the track to use the free file program. If you encounter that, if you're filing your taxes and at the end it says, okay, here's how much you have to pay us to process this request, that does not necessarily mean that you don't qualify. What I would encourage you to do is to log out of your account, go back to our website, that free file page, click on that vendor link again, and instead just create a new account. That will allow you to be able to file your taxes for free because you're navigating from the right page that time. I know that can be a little inconvenient if it happens. Usually doesn't happen to the average person. I use an Indiana Free File vendor every year, and this has never happened to me, but I've heard that it's happened to others before. So I just wanted to give you that tip in case it is helpful for you. This year, there are 5 vendors listed on our website. So all of these we can guarantee will provide you with the ability to file your federal and Indiana tax return for free. Those are TaxSlayer, TaxAct, Intuit TurboTax, OLT Online Taxes, and Credit Karma. Now keep in mind, Kate is going to talk about in the IRS section that you can also go to the IRS website and you can find the 9 overall vendors that are approved for the Free File program at the federal level. So if you don't want to use our website to find those vendors and find those secure links that will take you directly to those vendors' free file pages, you can use the IRS portal instead. Really, the only difference is that the IRS, because it is the federal level, they are just looking at all of the vendors that allow you to file your federal taxes for free. What we do, because we are the Indiana Department of Revenue, is we have specifically listed these 5 vendors because we confirmed they will allow you to file your federal and your Indiana state taxes for free. So if you go to the IRS website, you can still find vendors. You would just have to make sure that you selected a vendor that offered Indiana free filing. You'd have to do that research yourself if you wanted to do that. So it's really your choice. This is just maybe an added convenience. So, like I said, not all of those vendors are going to be quite the same in terms of who is allowed to use them in order to file for free. So this year, the AGI has increased a little from last year. So if your federal adjusted gross income was less than $72,000 in 2020, there's a really good chance that you are going to qualify for at least one of these vendors' programs. There are some other things they take into consideration though, so you might not qualify for all of them. Some of them have a lower threshold for that federal AGI. Some of them also consider age, active military status, and whether you qualify for the earned income tax credit. So if you want to see a list of all of those vendors that allow for Indiana state free filing and what the specific criteria are for each one of them, you will go to that freefile.dor.in.gov website, and that will list them all off for your convenience. Now, that being said, you do not have to use those 5 vendors. If you don't qualify for one for the Free File program, you can still use it. You'll just likely have to pay. You can also use any vendor that you want to that is not on that list. You can have a professional file your taxes for you. This is not the only option. If you are really gung-ho about not having to pay to file your taxes in any way, that you don't qualify for any of those vendors' free file programs, or you don't want to use any of the ones that are listed there, you can also always file a paper return. Thousands of people do that every year, possibly more, actually, a surprising amount. I've never done it, so it really surprised me when I saw how many people did that. But that is also always an option for you. That being said, if you have the option to use Indiana Free File, we really do recommend it for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you are getting a refund, it is going to get to you faster. Paper returns usually take about 8 weeks, and Indiana Free File, filing online, you're going to get that in usually around 2 to 3 weeks instead. Also, Indiana Free Filing and filing online, all of those programs will send you a confirmation email that your return has been received and accepted. So that is really good. It gives you peace of mind. You can use them anytime. They are user-friendly. There is less of a likelihood that you will have an error. Electronically filed returns have a 2% error rate, and we found that paper returns have up to a 20% error rate. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. So we really would like you to use Indiana Free File if you are eligible to do so for those reasons. It's easier for you, and frankly, it's a little easier for us because we can process those returns faster. Before I wrap up, I just wanted to, one more time, put the URL for this page of our website here. So if you haven't written it down yet, you can do so now. freefile.dor.in.gov. Additionally, one more resource that is available on the Indiana government web portal that I think you might find useful is we offer a check your refund status portal. So when you submit your return, if you are owed a refund, you can go there, enter in your information, and it will tell you if your refund is being processed, if it is in the mail, when you can essentially expect to get it. This is one of the most popular government web pages around this time of year. So I wanted to give it a little shout out if you haven't heard of it or used it before. You are also always welcome to contact us if you have any questions. One caveat, if the question you have is about the vendor that you are using, maybe you're running into a technical issue or you want to make sure that that vendor offers the electronic version of a certain form that you're looking for, you should really contact that vendor's customer service team. They're going to be a lot more able to answer that question than we are. We're a government entity. We don't work directly with them on technical issues like that. But if you have a question about your Indiana tax return in your state taxes at all, you can contact us. I've included the phone number. Please keep in mind, call times, you're going to be put on hold for a little while if you call us around this time of year. That's just the reality of the situation. It is very busy for us. If you want to avoid very long wait times, I would recommend calling early in the day. So right at 8 a.m., if at all possible, on one of those weekdays. And that will make sure that you get through a little quicker. If you do not want to call us, you can also email the individual tax assistance email account. It'll usually take a few days to get back to you, but you won't have to be put on hold. You can also call or visit any of our district offices. We have 12 of those located throughout the state. So no matter where you are, you should be able to find one that can help you. And please remember to follow us on social media. So let's see. I see a couple of questions in the chat. One is lost audio. So Jim, I believe we are recording this session. So hopefully if you lost any audio for a little while and weren't able to hear anything, the recording should have picked that up, and hopefully our host can arrange to send that to you or provide you with a link later on. How secure are the websites? I mean, David, you work with Intuit, so you might be able to speak to this as well, but my understanding is that they are very secure. That is
yes,
probably the biggest thing that they take into consideration every year, besides accurateness of the questions that they are asking you.
yes, that is number one, I think, on the not just Intuit's, but every company, every software company's goal is to make sure it's the most secure programs that they can possibly use and technologies up to date. So I don't think that should be an issue.
Yes. And then the last question was, are all of your online forms fill-in forms? So Roger, I don't know if you're talking about the electronic versions of the forms that you can access through these free file programs, which yes, you can fill those in online. That is the point of them. I think actually what you're asking about is the forms that our department offers on our website for those who want to paper file or to just reference. Yes, if you're paper filing, perfect, okay. I believe they are all fill-in forms. So that means that you can type directly into the form, and then when you are done, you can save it to your computer and print it off. We recommend you do that because when you type in the amount that you owe, we're not going to be able to struggle to read your handwriting. Whereas when you write it out, sometimes that can happen. So yes, I believe they are all fill-in forms. And if anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I think we'll have time at the end in case you wanted to put something in now. But for the moment, I am going to stop sharing. And it is, I think, time for Kate. Kate, do you want me to go ahead and share your presentation? You're still muted, Kate.
There we go. Okay. Took me a while. Thanks, Nancy. If you would, I'd appreciate it. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Representative Hollingsworth for his support and enthusiasm, for sure. I'd like to assure David Macklin that the good news is Nancy and I are very excited about taxes, so we thrive in this environment. And a special thank you to Nancy for working my slides for me. So with that said, I'd like to get started. So Nancy, if you could go to the next slide, please. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Free File Alliance, which is, as Nancy already mentioned, and David as well, it's a public-private partnership between a group of industry-leading private sector tax preparation companies who have agreed to provide free tax preparation services online free tax preparation services and e-filing to eligible taxpayers. So that's what we're talking about here. All these 9 companies this year that Nancy mentioned before, plus some others, or she mentioned about 5. We're going to talk about a few others that are part of our Free File Alliance. So just wanted to mention that that's what it is, a public-private partnership, which we greatly appreciate. So Nancy, if you could go to the next slide. What I'd like to talk about is how this whole program works. And Nancy's gone over a lot of these same points because it's similar in many ways. This year, we have 9 companies that are working or making their software available to folks to have their federal return filed for free. And as Nancy mentioned, some of the partners that are with us in the Free File Alliance also offers free state returns to people who meet their criteria. Nancy also mentioned that each of these partners of ours have their own eligibility requirements or standards for who gets to file a free tax return. So it could be based on your age. It could be based on the state you live in, because we do this for more than the state of Indiana. It also could be based upon your military service, or as Nancy said, whether or not you qualify for the earned income credit. But generally you have to have income less than $72,000 for 2020. And again, those income requirements may vary a little bit program to program. The great thing about all these tax preparation software programs is that they're interview based. So it's a guided preparation and you're just going to be answering questions going through. So that's one of the great things about this program. Nancy, if you could go to the next slide, please. So in order to get started, how do you get started? Well, just like Nancy at the Indiana Department of Revenue Service has a website that she is touting. The Internal Revenue Service also has a great website available for many other things, not just the Free File Alliance, but the IRS's website is IRS, obviously, .gov, G-O-V. And if you want to go directly to the Free File Alliance part of the website, you just put a / and then the word Free File, just as you see on the screen here, and that would get you there. Or you could actually just go to the IRS webpage, which is irs.gov, and there is on the landing page of the website, there is a big icon, a big white rectangle that says file your taxes for free. You can click on that as well, and that'll get you to where you need to be on our website. You have the opportunity to go through all 9 of the various offers if you like to, or you can browse them, and they'll go through and tell you what the criteria are for getting service. Or you could use what's called the lookup tool, which is right there on the website. It's very easy to find, and it'll ask you some questions to see which providers would work best for your situation. Once you've determined which provider you want to use, you select that provider, you go ahead and complete your return and e-file your return. It's as simple as that. So if you could go to the next slide, please, Nancy. We're going to, I wanted to give you some tips. So Nancy already mentioned that you'll get your tax return filed quicker and you will receive your refund faster if you file your return electronically and select a direct deposit for the way in which you receive your refund. And that's really a lot of times what people want to do. They not only want to find out how quickly they can file their return, but their next question is, how quickly can I get my money? I want to give a little shout out to the IRS website. Once you've actually filed your tax return and you are expecting a refund, you want to know when your refund is going to be being direct deposited, or when your check will be mailed, if that's what you elected to do. There is another icon on our landing page at irs.gov, and it says, where's my refund? We try to keep it simple. So where's my refund? And you can check on the status of your return and your refund with just 3 pieces of information. You'll need to know your social security number, what your filing status was. So that would be whether you were single, married, filing jointly, head of household, whatever your filing status was, and the dollar amount of your refund. With that information, the website can give you an idea about where in the system or where in the process your money is. When they get ready to issue your refund, that information will be noted on the website. So I just wanted to give you that quick tip too. So a lot of people don't have access to a laptop or a computer at home, but they do have smartphones. So one of the things that I think David mentioned is that the IRS has worked with our Free File Alliance partners to optimize the software use on smartphones. So you can actually, again, you can go to the irs.gov and find more information about our IRS to go application, but you can also look for apps online, and it is a free application, but a lot of people have used that IRS to go app and their smartphones to file their tax returns. So I wanted to mention that as well. One thing we do want to make sure people are aware of is that we only want you to be filing your tax return once you know you have all of your documents. So for example, if you know you worked 3 jobs last year and you're expecting 3 Form W-2s from your employers, we want you to wait to file that tax return until you have all 3 of those W-2s. Or if you collect a pension and you also get Social Security benefits, and you have pensions from 2 different companies, and you also have Social Security, and maybe you're also working, we want you to make sure you wait until after you have all your documents to file that tax return. Because if you have more income that comes in later, after you've already filed your tax return, then ideally, in a perfect world, you'd need to go and file what we call an amended return. And those are a little bit more difficult to prepare. And anyway, it's just easier if you do your return correctly and completely the first time you do it. So I have some more tips to share. So Nancy, if you would go to the next slide, please. So we have some more tips. As Nancy said, once you, and we've mentioned before, you're going to select a vendor to have your, the software vendor you're going to use to prepare your return. But in order to use that software vendor, you're going to need to set up an account for yourself. And when you do that, you're going to need to have an email address. You must have an email address if you want to use the free file options. So you have to have an email address, and you also are going to need to know what your 2019 adjusted gross income was. Now, obviously, if you have your last year's tax return, you can easily find that on your tax return, but you will need to know that as well. And the other thing I always tell people, because sometimes people forget, but once you know your return has been electronically filed successfully, then you want to make sure at some point you go ahead and print a copy of your return for your records. The other tip I'm going to pass along to you is that because you're going to create an account on the software package you select, you want to make sure you write down your username and your password, because if you ever need to get back into the software to check, emails or to make a change or to answer any other questions the software company might have, you will need to get back into that account. So I just want to make sure. I know people these days are used to writing down username and passwords or keeping them in a safe place. So I want to urge you to do that. Now, the Internal Revenue Service does more than just have participation with the Free File Alliance to help people get free tax preparation and provide other resources. So Nancy, if you could go to the next slide, I'd like to give you a little bit more information about how the IRS may be able to help. So I believe it was David who mentioned our VITA program, which is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. And we have volunteer sites across the country and across the state of Indiana where volunteers are helping prepare returns for free for people. These volunteer sites prepare both federal and state returns for folks. If you're looking to find a local VITA site in your area, you can actually, in the state of Indiana, you could call 211, which is, you've probably heard of 911 and 411, but 211 is a number you can call to get access to where services are available, and they should be able to help you with that. Or you could go right to the IRS website at irs.gov and just type in a search in the search box, just type VITA, V-I-T-A, VITA, as it's stated on the slide here, and they'll give you a list. They'll ask for your zip code or have you provide information to see what sites are in your area. In addition to our regular VITA sites, there are also what we call tax aid sites that are staffed, and these are AARP sponsored sites that are staffed by volunteers for tax aid. And you can find out where their sites are by going to the AARP website, which I have listed here, which is www.aarp.org. And just search for the tax aid locations for 2021. And then there's a lot of other information that we have available on IRS website, on the irs.gov website, and especially information regarding coronavirus or COVID impact is available there as well. So Nancy, if you could go to the next slide, please. Just want to make clear the economic impact that the Free File Alliance has had since it came into being in 2003. We've had more than 60 million taxpayers use Free File Alliance software, and they've saved more than 1.8 billion, that's billion with a B, in tax preparation fees. So big shout out to the Free File Alliance and our Free File partners for helping so many people over the years file their taxes for free. And with that, I am going to turn it back to, I think, David Allen. I'm not sure if I have any questions. I think I've seen a couple slide across the screen as I've been talking, but if somebody would want to share those questions with me or ask, I think we have a few minutes for questions.
Sure, thank you, Kate. It looks like there's one question that says, I had a new form this year that I don't know how to fill out. Do these companies provide help with something like this?
Well, again, because most of these software programs are programs that are what we call interview based, they're going to ask questions about what kinds of income you had, what kinds of expenses you had. And if there's a new form, I don't know the new form you had or you need to use this year, but if it's one of those forms that's covered under the Free File Alliance, they should be able to ask you questions that the software will actually complete for you. And with most of these software companies, I believe there is a help feature as well. So if you want to use Free File Alliance, that's one option. If it's a form, let's say you're going to go to a VITA, one of our volunteer sites, or be it a VITA site or an AARP site, it would probably depend on the form. I'm assuming it would be a regular form we would be able to help with. And if that's the case, obviously, they'd be able to help with that. I hope that answers your question. Oh, the 8949. So Dorothy, did you have a capital gain? Did you sell something this year? Some stocks or bonds or something? Sell a house? It sounds like that's a sale of property. That should be, I'm assuming that you would be able to use programs on the Free File Alliance, or I know our VITA sites, most of our VITA sites and AARP sites can handle that kind of a transaction. Yes.
I created a new account with my broker this summer, and it generates an 8949 and Schedule D, and it's very complicated. and I have no idea what to do.
Okay.
The rest of my taxes couldn't be simpler. I've done them myself for years, but this has thrown a ringer into it. I do not know what to do.
Yeah.
And then the instructions couldn't be, they might as well be in Martian. I can't understand a word.
Yeah.
So I need some help, but I don't know quite where to go.
Well, Dorothy, I think what you might want to do, because you've already done your taxes for years, you're a very informed consumer. You might want to try the Free File Alliance. You can either start with the Indiana Free File if you want to make sure you can file your state return. So you may want to start there, and just when you go through the criteria for what kinds of returns those software companies will allow you to file for free, they will ask you questions about what kind of income you had. And I'm assuming if you've got the statement from the broker that there may have been some sales of different stocks or bonds or whatever. Those are pretty easily handled. I know it looks complicated on the form, but it isn't that terribly complicated. So assuming that those software companies will allow you to use that, you can do that. You should be able to use the Free File software. You just have to answer those questions they ask. And I do know that the VITA sites, most VITA sites and AARP sites should also be able to assist you with that issue.
Excuse me. I've always used Tax Act, and I have another form, an 8606, that they allow me to do on the free. So, I think they probably allow this form. It's just, I'm not sure how to do it.
Yeah. Well, I am hoping that when you go into the software, they will just ask you questions. The nice thing about using the software, especially on Free File and through Indiana Free File, it is interview-based software. So they will ask you questions, and that hopefully should help you get over that hump of having to read all those instructions. It should be a little bit easier.
Yeah, okay. Definitely daunting.
Yes, I totally understand.
Right, and of all these pages that my broker sent me, probably there's only 2 or 3 numbers that matter.
Right.
I don't know which ones they are.
Right, right, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Dorothy.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I don't think anybody does. Dave, Nancy, Kay, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Or
I'd just like to thank you, David, and the library for hosting this today. I hope it was helpful to the folks on the call. If you do have any questions, I'm sure you'll get, David, you'll get maybe some more questions from folks, but I know you're recording this, but we're just happy to be part of this and happy to do any follow-up with any of the folks on the call if they have any other particular questions. And I appreciate Nancy and Kate for being on this as well. It's wish we could be in person to do this, David, but I know it's a challenge for everybody, and I know you've got a very busy tax site there as well, and so I'm sure you're getting a lot of questions from taxpayers. But thank you for this opportunity, and let me know if there's anything else we can do.